Hi everyone, it's Tammy at Frou-frou Studio. Welcome back for another episode of hashtag Moss in the Scratic, a scrap busting ephemera challenge hosted by Release the Crafting. Today I'm going to try and catch up. I haven't had the opportunity to make a video for the last couple of days, and so I'm going to try to do several things today to get caught back up. For sure, two. Hopefully, I can get all three done and be back on track. So, today I'm going to be working on prompt 11, 12, and hopefully 13. For sure 11 and 12 in this video. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So number 11 is gilding, and this one has kind of thrown me for a loop because I don't really have anything that I can do like a true gilding, like a gold leaf or something like that. So we're going to kind of improvise and use some things that I found, scraps laying around that I think will work for that. And then we have patina and grunge. So let's start with the gilding and see what we can do with that one, and we will go from there. So I did find in my little scrappy bits, this piece was a cover of a little photo album that I have, and if you can see, it has some gold on it, gold embossing, and it has kind of gilded edges. So I'm going to go for that, and I have put this floral arrangement on the front of it, and I went ahead and glued that on there so that it could be drying and we can move forward. So this is going to become a journal card. So as you can see, it's just the cover of like a little bitty mini photo album that I got mainly for the pictures. The album was falling apart, so I just saved the cover and some of the inside pieces that have the cutouts for the photos. I had originally purchased it for the photos inside. So I'm going to back that first with just a piece of kind of cream colored paper that was in my scraps, and hopefully I can get this on here close enough just to kind of give that a backing, because it's going to become a journal card. I don't care if it has like a frame around it. As a matter of fact, I'll probably prefer that. So I'm going to take my pencil and just mark that, and we'll cut it down and put it on the back. So I hope everyone is having a good day. I keep having to remind myself that this is supposed to be for fun and supposed to be relaxing, because what happens is I get behind, and then I start freaking out because I get behind, and I have to remind myself that, you know, this isn't work. It's not a project that has a deadline. I had those for 20 years. And I guess it's that mentality that makes me feel that way. And so I'm doing my best to try to let go of that and saying, you know what, if something comes up and you miss a day, you miss a day, and you just catch up when you can catch up and not freak out about it. So that is a work in progress for me, even though I have been retired for 2 years now. I still get that feeling. So yeah, I'm working on it. Do you guys do that when you're doing these challenges? Do you feel like if you get behind, or you feel like you should have done something in a particular day and you didn't, do you let it stress you out, or do you just, say, oh well, I can do that tomorrow or the next day, no biggie? I guess when you've been in the workforce, especially when you had a job that had a lot of projects that had deadlines, it's hard to let go of that process, the way your mind thinks about things like that. All right, so I think that'll work for a journaling card. Looks quite nice on the back here. Wish I just smeared ink on it, but that's okay, because, we like our grunge anyway, and it is supposed to be in a yucky attic. So, I say yucky attic, but, even in the cleanest attics, things are dusty and stuff. So, okay, so that's our journaling card. Oh, and I want to put a little tab on it so you can pull it out, because the next thing we're going to do is like a tuck or a pocket. So this is just some pieces of lace, and then I found these little pieces of this netting that has like a rose gold foil on it, and I'm going to use a piece on this, and then I'm going to use a piece on the tuck to kind of tie it together, just to give another hint of gilding. So I'm going to wrap that around here somehow. I feel like I want this to be more raveled. This lace doesn't ravel really well, but we'll see what we can do to crunch it up just a little bit. I'm going to wrap it around, and then I'm going to take these other pieces and put up here, and then I think I'm going to try to attach it with the tiny attacher. I'm going to kind of crumple it up a little bit. I should have done that before. Oh, looks okay. It's hard to say I should have done that before I put the backer on there, but that's okay. One more, just to be sure. Okay, so now we have our little journaling card. So now what we're going to work on is we're going to work on our little tuck. And I went through and found some scrappy bits of things that I want to use. So this is some scrapbook paper that looks like cards. I have no idea who this is from. I want to say that it is from Graphic 45, and it's from the Alice kit. But I like the color because this, I don't know if you can tell, but it was green with the gold. So I thought the green would be nice. And then this is from a magazine, actually. And it was part of a collage that I did for Marguerite Miller. And so I'm going to use that and glue on here. And what I want to do is make these books look like they have gold gilding on the edges. You know how a lot of books have gilding on them. So I'm going to take this is the first time I've actually used this pen. I got it a couple of weeks ago, and it's water-based ink. And we're going to try this and see how this works. If this doesn't work, then I'm going to emboss the edges. But I think this will work. It is a extra fine tip, so hopefully it won't bleed everywhere and give me a nice fine line. So I want to go kind of along the tops of these books. Yeah, I don't know how well that shows up, but it is very gold. And then I'm going to go along the bottom. And then I'm going to do this line right here. And then I think I'm going to do a couple lines here. Fill that in. And then maybe do these stars if I can. Yeah. Okay, so that gives another piece, a little gilding to that. And then I have a piece of book page that I just put some embossing ink on and spread some gold embossing powder on there. And then this one is some old music paper, and I took the Ranger crayon in, yep, it was this one, antique bronze, and put that on there because I think it looks like more like the rose gold. And we're going to put that on here. I don't know how long this is going to take to dry. It should be fairly quick. Yeah, it feels like it's dry enough for me to work with anyway. So let's ink around that. Let's ink around this. And I think what I'm going to do actually, that won't matter. I'm going to do this side. And I'm just going to cut these little curves around these cards just a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Alright, so let's ink these pieces up. And then I think I'm just going to glue it all down on on book page to give it more sturdy of a background. Actually, I may not need to do that. We'll see after I get the pieces all together. Now I could put some of that pen around these cards as well, but we'll see what it looks like when we get it all together and see if I feel like I need some more gold. Okay, so my idea is to glue these pages behind here and then glue this like that. Just so these stick out just a little. Yeah, I like that. All right, so let's kind of put these down. I'm going to glue them to each other first so I can get that in place. And then glue that on there. Oh, no, I don't want it that far over, because you won't be able to see the cards. About right there. I would rather not see the gold as to not see the cards. Okay, then I'm going to glue this on. I think I want it all the way down at the bottom. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to glue this on. just like that. And then I have some more kind of lace and some more of that gilded stuff. And then I have my moth in this little label that I'm going to put on there. Okay, so let's get my Fabri-Tac. You can't really see where I put that gold on that one book too much. Okay. I need to cut these little legs off. They're too long. One of them, anyway. I have no idea where that went to. Because I'm not actually going to stick these little brads through because I don't want them to interfere with the pocket. Okay. Alright. So now we've got our little pocket. And I think I will now glue this whole piece down to a piece of book page and cut it all out just to give it some extra strength. So I'm just going to put the glue stick on the back. Oh, I forgot to put my leaf on there too. I'm going to put that dried leaf fern on there. Alright, we'll be sure and mash that down really well. Okay. Oops. See a bit of this book page coming up right here, so I'm going to try to get under that edge so it won't get ripped off. And you can see, you can barely see the gold. So, to fix that, I'm just going to take this gold pen and kind of scribble. Now, that'll work. Actually, I might go over. Oh, look what it's doing. That's weird, isn't it? It's taking that crayon off. It's probably getting that crayon on my pen too. Bring that out onto the card a little bit. Just kind of blend it. Take my water pen. Let's do it with the water pen. Just knocked my craft knife in the floor. Okay. I'm going to hit that with the heat tool just for a sec, just so I can work with it. Okay. Just don't want it to smear when I'm trying to cut it out. Put some glue right under here, where the heat made it pop up a little bit. And I want this to go right here, like that. So I'm going to put some art glitter glue on here. And art glitter glue does dry clear. And it does not shine when it dries, so I'm not really worried about that too much. I just want to get it glued down pretty well because it is a real pressed or dried fern. And then I think I want to try and just hit some of these leaves. The tips with the gold pen. Yeah, I'm sure you can't see that on camera. But that gives it just a little, another little gold effect. Now we can cut it out. I've already cut that. Don't have to cut it twice. Once will do ya. There we go. Do I want to stamp something in that little circle? Could stamp a number in there. Let's see. Get my nasty little block out there. And see what we can find. Do we want to do that one? I think I can do that one if I could lift his wings up. Do we want to do that in gold and emboss it? No, I think I'm going to just do it in brown. So I'm going to put some glue stick on my stamp thing there. And actually, I'm going to move it. Wait. Over here. No, over here. I'm trying to decide where I need to put it so I can get it up under the butterfly. And I think it needs to be there. Gosh, you almost can't even see where the stamp is. I really do need to clean these today. Not coffee. I want potting soil, archival. Alright, let's hold our little butterfly up. We can pull this wing all the way up. It's not going to hurt anything. And stamp. Yep. Okay, so there is our little tuck pocket, and it could be used either way. You could either put it on this side of the page if you wanted to, and leave your tuck spot for your journaling cards this way. But if you're going to do that, be careful when you make your journaling card that you're making your tab this thing on the other side, because it would work this way as well, and you can make your tuck here, but I put that tab, you know, for it to work the other way, but it would work either way. So that takes care of gilding. That's the best I can do for gilding with the materials that I have, but I think it looks pretty cute. So for the next one, it's going to be a super easy make, because like I said, I'm using a piece I already had. So this is a collage that I had for Margaret Miller, part of a collage that I had for Margaret Miller several years ago, because it was the first year that I did it. And I have a whole sketchbook full of these, obviously, 52 of them, because I did the Margaret Miller challenge. And when I was doing it, I was just doing basic collage work in a sketchbook. So now I have these sketchbooks full of these collages that I have really no use for unless I repurpose them and do something else with them. So in my mind, anyway, that is still a scrap, because it's not really ready-made ephemera, because they're big collages, you know, that take up whole sketchbook papers. So they're all going to have to be repurposed in some manner to be able to be used in a journal. So for this one, I am making this one into a journal card. I did back it on, after I cut out the pieces, you know, the piece of the collage that I wanted to use. I backed it on a piece of leftover scrap book paper, and I think this is light enough to leave it just as it is to write on. And as you can see, I just rounded the corners. The only thing I added to this collage, and this is patina, by the way, and you can see pretty much everything in this picture has some sort of patina. To me, patina is anything that gives something age. It can be you know, crackling, distressed look. It can be rust. You've got the rust here and here. You've got the old bottles that have the dust and the kind of buildup on them that gives these bottles a patina. And of course, you know, anytime you have an old picture or frame portrait of anything, it's going to get some patina because it's going to begin to yellow and change colors the more that it sits around. And a lot of the older paintings had a lot of smoke damage to them due to either people smoking or from the fireplaces and stuff that were in the homes. Canvas just draws all that stuff in and discolors your canvas. The only thing I added to this one is I put this moth in the middle so that it would have, you know, a moth on it. And I'm also going to put one of my little grungy faux patinaed tags. And these tags were inspired by an actual tag that I have, which is metal, which is this one. And I assume it was for like a room key, you know, would have been attached to this. This is brass. I got this in Paris, I think. And I can imagine an old-timey, you know, like this kind of old-timey key attached to it for like a motel room or an apartment or something like that. So that one's in my I don't want to get rid of stash along with this one. But I thought, okay, let's make some. So I made several like this, and this is my last one. So I need to put this on a project list to make some more because I absolutely love the way that it came out. I used the Tim Holtz Gold. I did some silver ones too, but they're all gone as well. Craft cardstock and cut out my circles, and then I used embossing glazes to get this kind of rusty, glazy, patinaed look. So I want to add this right up here at the corner, and I'm just going to use a brad to attach that. And I thought I had one sitting out here. I may have threw it back up here in my little muffin tin. Let's see. What color do I want? I think I want that color. Yep. So we're just going to attach it up there and call this one done. And I know that's kind of a cop-out, but that's what I want to do, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'll have to make a pocket for this at some point, so I'll probably use one of the other prompts to make a pocket. But we will cross that bridge when we get to it. So that is that one. Sorry, I had to look at my phone. I thought I heard it make a noise, but it didn't. So there is patina. Now I could take some of my rust stuff and kind of go around the edges and stuff like that. And I may end up doing that when it actually goes into the journal. But for now, I'm going to leave it like that and call it done. and we'll see where it goes from there. And these are all, by the way, magazine pictures that I cut out of magazines and put together to form a vignette. So, but I could see walking up into an attic and see these things all together. And so, and actually, most of these things, except for that, I have in my own home. So, if my items were being stored in the attic, you would definitely find a scale, you would find the doorstop, and you would find some old crusty bottles for sure. Okay, so the last one we're going to do is grunge, and for that one, we're kind of going with a school theme because I feel like you would finally probably find some old school items in an old attic. And so this would be my pocket. This is part of a Tim Holtz backdrop. And so, I've cut it down. I had used a piece of the back side for something else. So it wasn't a full page. It was in my scrap bin. And luckily, all this was one piece. So I could make a pocket out of it. And then I'm going to put a collage on this little vellum envelope with some other little scrappy pieces, and the envelope will fit down in the pocket when it goes into the journal. I'm not going to do much to this right now, other than when I get done, I'm going to paper clip it to it so I remember, oh yeah, that's the pocket. But what we're going to concentrate on is decorating this vellum envelope. So, also in my stash, I had this little, this was a Tim Holtz baseboard, and I've used, I guess, the other half of it for something else. And I had already peeled off the top layer, because you know those are really thick. So I want to put this on here. And then this is a piece of an actual book spine. And I'm going to put that on here to kind of go together. And then this also is off a book spine. And I have a couple pieces of that. I think that's really grungy. So I'm going to put one here, and I think one down at the bottom. I had this little clock face that was just sewn over in my scrap, and so I've added some hands to it. This one right down here is just glued on. But this one will actually spin, as long as you don't spin it too far. Now, you could, actually that's spinning. I don't know why that's spinning, because it's glued down, which is really weird. Okay, but anyway, but you can see this is not a full circle, because it wasn't a full circle on the scrapbook paper that it came from. So I'm going to butt it here at the bottom, so that the fact that that's cut off real straight doesn't show as much or stick out as much. And I keep saying today. And then I'm going to put this little guy on here, like he's kind of leaning across the top, so you can't see that that is cut off so straight. So that's going to take care of that part, I think. And then this is also a little scrap that I had. Now, I think this may be Tim Holtz. as well. Maybe. But it's from like a, I guess it would be like part of a report card, maybe. So I'm going to stick that right here behind his head. And then I have some little scrappy bits that I'm going to ink up. This is from a notebook that I found, like a composition book from a student that had been writing about studying the forest. And then this is just book page. So I'm going to ink those up. And you can see they're very fragile. So I have to be very careful. As a matter of fact, I'm not even going to try to ink that one up because I know it'll fall apart if I do. So I'm going to glue those together, and then I'm going to glue those underneath these other parts. So, and then to go in the envelope, I have a vintage flashcard, and I have a Tim Holtz piece that is a report card. And that's just going to stick in the folder for some interest. So let's glue all this down and see what happens. See how grungy we can get here. So like I said, I think I'm going to put the glue stick on this page and then put the composition book on top of it, because I'm telling you, that composition book will just fall apart in your hands. Okay, and then I have this doubled over. This is just part of my glue book, so you can see it's got some gesso and all kinds of stuff on it. Oops, see what I did? Luckily, that's on the back side. And that's why I'm doubling it up. Now, can I get it up without tearing it apart? I don't know. Just want to stick to my fingers. Alright. And now, let's scrunch this up a little bit. I think I may even... kind of roll that edge a little bit if I can. And then ink it. Let's take the paper distresser and see what that does. Oh yeah. That's what we're looking for. It's a nice grungy edge. So we're going to glue this onto this. And actually, I need to be measuring. Okay, it's the right height. Wanted to make sure that was going to fit before I did that. Not that I couldn't trim it off. so far so good. Now, let's put down this piece. Actually, let's put down this piece and our other little scrappy bits first. Okay, now we'll put down this one. Okay. Now we want to put down our clock. But we need to ink that for sure, and I think I will for sure go around this one with some of that rusty. Stuff. I could also, no, I can't either because I don't want to take off. I started to say I could emboss it and make it shiny, but I don't want to because I don't want to. I've got to glue that little dude on top. Definitely need to ink him up. We might give him a bit of a sand in a place or two as well. Take the little sander here. You can cover that. I just love how that looks when you do that. We're going to put him about right there. And then this will go on here, just like that. But before I do that, I want to stamp on here. Now, I have a stamp. If I can find it here. That's called Math Notes, and it's by Sam Poole with Creative Expressions, or she designed it for Creative Expressions. And I want to stamp that on here, and I'm going to use my archival ink since this is vellum. And again, I'm going to use the potting soil. I don't want the black. I think it'll be too harsh. Make sure I have my envelope the right way. There we go. Now I'm giving that a second to dry. I'm going to get my rusty stuff that I think is right behind me. Hope it is. And I don't really want to stick my finger in it, so I'm going to use this little bamboo skewer. It really does work the best with your fingers, though, I have to say. And you can use a paintbrush, but it will ruin your paintbrush. But if you have one that is near end of life anyway, you can for sure use that. Put some on our little hands here. Okay. All right, let's heat that just a second. It won't dry it completely, but I need it to be dry enough that I won't smear it everywhere when I'm trying to glue it onto the envelope. Okay, is this dry? Yep. Okay, so now we can move on. So I'm going to glue this onto there. Just like that. Where's my glitter glue? There it is. Be sure when you're gluing on vellum that you do not use a glue that will cause it to wrinkle up. Art glitter glue does not. Okay, I'm gonna trim little hangy parts. And then I need my tiny dauber so that I can ink around the edges with archival ink instead of the oxide, because the oxide won't dry. Okay, and I'm also gonna take my splatter stamp and put some splatters so that looks older. Now I can put my little cards, which I'm also going to ink, on the inside, and they'll show from the back. I'm going to bend this one and sand it a little bit. Oops, it's not going to do any good to sand it that way, Amy. Take the edges off a little. And I might even tear it right here. And then put some cello tape on it to tape it back together. Okay, so those, how do I want it? Like it matters. We'll go in the envelope. Like that. And I think I'll put another piece of cello tape on the outside. Yeah, like that. All right, so there's our loaded envelope for grungy. I think that's pretty grunge. Trying to find my glue pen. Glue pen. There it is. So like I said, when it comes to journal time, this will be the pocket. And we can even cut it down more once it's in the journal. And then we'll have our cute little card there, or envelope to pull out. So, let's recap. And I did get caught back up, so that makes me feel a little better, even though I shouldn't worry about it in the first place. Alright, so first we did gilded, or gilding. So there is that one. And then we did patina, which was, you know, pretty much done. And then we just did grunge. So I could mark those off. And tomorrow it is triangle. So that's going to be a challenge in itself. So I get to stress out over that one for the next. Oh, I was going to put this piece of paper behind this one too when I put it in the journal, just because it's crinkly. Actually, I'm going to crinkle it up even more. It's like airmail paper, like you used to write letters to send overseas, because it's really lightweight. So there we go. There are 3 days. We're done. And I will see you guys back tomorrow, where we will try and figure out triangle. So until then, everybody have a good afternoon and evening, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.